Hello everyone. In today's video, I shall discuss the art of effective communication. Here, you will get a step-by-step guidance to improve your communication skills. Now, viewers and students, what do you think? Can this art of effective communication be learned through practice? Can we learn this art by following certain rules? The obvious answer is yes, we can. So let's first know what exactly communication is. The very word communication is derived from the Latin word communicare, which means to impart, to participate, or to transmit. The word communicare comes from the root communis, which means to make common or to share. Then, what exactly the definition of communication is? Various scholars have defined it in different ways. Let's have a look at the definition provided by Louis Allen. He says, communication is the sum of all the things one person does when he wants to create understanding in the mind of another. Communication is a bridge of meaning. It involves a systematic and continuous process of telling, listening, and understanding. So we can say that only telling or speaking and listening cannot complete the process of communication. Understanding is an integral part of this process. This has been clearly explained by Murphy, Hildebrand, and Thomas. According to them, communication is a process of transmitting and receiving verbal and nonverbal messages. It is considered effective when it achieves the desired response or reaction from the receiver. So now it is quite clear that communication is a two-way process. It involves seven elements: a sender, a message, a medium, a channel, a receiver, a response, and a feedback. Now, we must keep in mind that the mere presence of these seven elements cannot ensure an effective communication. There has to be mutual understanding and cooperation between the parties involved, between the communicators. So both the sender and the receiver should share a mutually accepted code, that is, common language and common interpretation of gestures, symbols, and pictures, without which understanding is impossible. The context in which the communication takes place is known as the communication environment. The message is first encoded by the sender in a certain medium, that is oral or written or non-verbal, using a channel, for example air, mic, body, pictures, text, etc. So encoding is the first step. Now, when the encoded message reaches the receiver, it is decoded by the receiver based on his socio-cultural background, cognitive ability, and emotional intelligence. Once the receiver has decoded the message, a response is generated in the receiver's mind. Then the receiver encodes his response and sends it back to the sender as a feedback. This is how the process of communication is completed. Okay. Now, let's see how many types of communications are there. Fundamentally, there are three types of communications. Number one, verbal or spoken. Number two, non-verbal or body language. And number three, written communication. So, how can we communicate effectively? Now, effective communication depends on several conditions. Number one, a common communication environment. Number two, cooperation of all the participants involved. Number three, selection of an appropriate channel, keeping in mind the barriers. Number four, correct encoding and decoding of the message. And the last one, receiving the desired response and feedback. So, when all these conditions are fulfilled, then the communication becomes effective. But to have an effective communication, we must be aware of the factors that affect communication. There are 10 such factors about which we have to be very careful. Number one, differences in status or role of the sender and the receiver. That means if they do not belong to equal status in a hierarchy, then that may affect the effectiveness of communication. Number two, cultural differences between the communicators. That means if both the sender and the receiver belong to the same cultural background, then understanding becomes easier. Otherwise, it becomes a difficult task. Number three, choice of communication channel. One needs to find an appropriate channel for a particular purpose. Number four, length of the message conveyed. If the message is too lengthy, then it may create an impediment in the receiver's understanding. Why? Because the receiver tends to lose his concentration if the message is too lengthy. Number five, use of proper language, proper grammar, and punctuation. One should choose one's words carefully. One should never use jargons while communicating with somebody outside the organization in which those jargons are used. Sentence structure should follow correct grammatical order and punctuation. An incorrect punctuation can change the meaning of the message. Number six, disabilities of communicators. If the communicators suffer from certain physical and mental disabilities, then effective communication may be hindered. Number seven, personal traits of the communicators. People with different personal traits, attitudes, and ages have different communication needs and preferences. Same message has to be conveyed differently to an adult and a child. Number 8. Surroundings or noise. So, a noisy surrounding may impact the efficacy of oral or verbal communication. Number 9. Clarity of the message. The message has to be conveyed clearly without any ambiguity. Number 10, lack of feedback. So, lack of feedback may create confusion for both the sender and the receiver. So, keeping all these parameters in mind, if we can communicate, then we can easily achieve our desired goal of effective communication. So, students and other viewers, I hope you have found this video useful. If so, then kindly like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for part 2 of this video. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Have a great day. Thank you once again.